Hey everybody, this is Setsah and Sue. We're talking about spiritual warfare again. This is night 2 of it. We're keeping the recordings available for people who want to listen, practice, learn, awaken, so on and so forth. And tonight, I wanted to share the Tower of Light technique, which is a very good basic thing to know in any situation, in any walk of life that you're at. If it's, whether you're sick or you're healthy, or if you're in public or if you're in private. This comes out of the Psychic Self-Defense and Well-Being book that I mentioned last time by Denning and Phillips. It's kind of an older book. And this Tower of Light technique is just a very basic thing that everyone can learn to do for their energy field protection, force field protection. Okay. So, here it goes. There's actually 2 methods here. One is the Tower of Life regular method, and the second one is for emergencies, like if you're under attack, emergency method. So we might do that a little later. Okay, so what we would do is just start out, breathe deeply and evenly. I'm reading from the book directly. And keep this up throughout the practice. Progressively relax your whole body. You could use this frequently. The creative plan of relaxation. It's kind of a sequential technique of relaxation. 3, stand erect without stiffness, arms at sides. In making practical use of this method, you may not always find it possible or reasonable to stand. If you're walking, walk upright, evenly, calmly, arms swinging closely at the sides. If you are seated, sit with your spine erect, feet parallel, firmly planted, hands palm down on the thighs. In either case, proceed with what follows just as if you were standing. 4, visualize all about you a long ellipsoid of intense bright blue light. It extends to about 9 inches beyond the surface of your body all around, and to about 16 inches above your head and below the floor level at your feet. He puts a note here. Your psychic aura is much more extensive than that and is usually visualized in silver, but for defense purposes, you need it to be blue, as it is easier to create the conditions you need in this smaller compass. 5, when you can visualize or simply be aware of this well-defined field of intense bright blue light entirely surrounding you, visualize within the summit of that aura, slightly above but not touching your head, a globe of brilliant white light. 6, concentrate your attention on this globe so that it becomes brighter, glowing white like burning magnesium. You're making this image to represent the light of your higher self, which is truly there. And you imagine this globe above your head, not touching, because you do not in any way identify your higher self with your conscious self, your ego personality. 7, be aware of these 2 images, the intense bright blue ellipsoid in which you are entirely contained, and the effulgent white globe over your head occupying the apex of the auric shape. So it's like holding both of these images at once in that space. 8, Aware of the brilliant globe over your head, aspire to the highest good you're capable of conceiving, realizing. Though this globe is a visualized symbol, it represents a part of true divine force. 9. When you feel ready, see that dazzling globe sending down glittering white light. This light, filled with silver sparkles, floods your aura and at the same time completely permeates you, coursing vibrantly through you. 10. The outer shell of your aura remains sharply defined as an ellipsoid of intense blue, bright blue, all filled now with the living, vibrant, sparkling white light. Continue this formulation for some time, as long as you can effectively concentrate on it, seeing it as a living, moving reality. The brilliance flows down continually into you and around you. It is inexhaustible, for it is a part of the source of all. And in your aura, it continually circulates, reinforcing the hard, sharply defined, and brilliantly blue outer shell. 11. Let it fade from your consciousness, knowing at the same time that, in caps, it has not faded from reality. In other words, it keeps you focusing on several dimensions at the same time. You start out, of course, this is a very basic thing. Start out relaxing, breathing, getting in tune with your body and your physical balance, and then moving up, and you're exercising your mind, you're exercising calming your emotions, you're getting into the rhythm, and then it forces you to exercise to seeing into the fourth dimension, which is that auric field, and then it takes you into the fifth and upwards, where that bright light comes from. And I like how it says, even though your attention changes from that, it still exists. So, and it didn't go away. It can loosen, it can change shape, it can change color as you go about your day. But every time you can, try to practice that and reinforce it, especially if you're feeling threatened in any way. So that's that technique. And the book is pretty good. That technique is just a basic thing that I think people should know in these times, because we go through a very chaotic society, and we need to know how to, seal it up, balance it out, close up the holes.
Nice.
I would actually, thank you. I actually would add to it and say, I typed in the chat a pillar of light. So he says tower, but he didn't actually describe a tower. I say visualize a pillar of light that actually reminds me of the pillar of light that guided the tribes out of Egypt when they were running away from the Egyptians. Mm-hmm. Just before they crossed the sea, before the seas parted, and everybody, just imagine, these people have been slaves for 400 years, beat up, worn out, mm-hmm. And this pillar of light, of a cloud, was leading them out. It stood before them during the day. You'll see it different references, and the first references that I think wrote down is Exodus. What chapter was it? I had looked it up over the weekend. I think it was chapter 13 maybe, or 14, yeah. And it describes how the cloud was an angel of God. It was in a pillar shape. And it led them. When they rested, it stopped. And when it was time to move on, it would move. In that particular story, where they were camped at the edge of the Red Sea, and they were being pursued by their slave owners, right? The slave owners.
Yeah.
the Pharaoh and his, armies, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pillar moved from the front of the group to between them, and it was casting darkness on them, but it casted light on the tribes. So they would have light at night. Like, it was, how could the same cloud, pillar of light, do both? But that's what it was. And I like to use the pillar idea because of that, too, because it seems so strong. You can extend it all the way up into the heavens and all the way down into the earth for grounding, and as wide as you need it. And it just seems stronger to me than just my own little auric field. That's why I shared it.
That's cool. That's cool. People have to... it's hard to explain. In today's modern societies, people have a challenge in visualizing and trusting in the Word, in knowing there are better ways, there are ancient ways, there are God bestowed ways to govern your life, and there are tools. Like this pillar of light is a tool, and I think it's been forgotten, but it's being brought back. I have used something similar to that. Sometimes if I'm attacked while traveling in a vehicle or within large groups, I have to isolate myself because there's too much energy, chaotic energy, that's attacking me. That has helped. And then you can customize it. So let your creativity and your connection to God help you be you. It's just another tool. Learn to use it and make it your own.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And customizing is an interesting word because we don't all have the same vehicles. Talking about customizing a vehicle. And when I'm trying to, get my meditation started, I always do a light meditation to start with. Fill myself, scan through, look for any holes or tears, fill them up, patch them up. Then, like a balloon, if I reach up to a higher level of energy, I have to know that my vehicle can store or hold that much energy. Otherwise, like a balloon, if it has a tear, it's just going to pop. You won't be able to hold it. You might not even be able to access those higher levels because there is kind of a fail-safe mechanism in place for people who, people who want to access higher levels of power and light, who are of the dark side. There's actually a fail-safe against them. They can't get there. They can't get there. It's like there isn't. I don't even have words for it. I just know it. We got.
I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know what you're trying to express. Basically, the makeup and we'll say resonance, or the way you are, your being at that certain time, place, frequency, and what you contract and who you are. If you're at that certain, we'll say, stage or place, and you're trying to access something, and it's too far of a bridge, or that it's not meant to be because you are not in resonance, you don't have a contract, meaning that you haven't prepared yourself to accept and to be worthy of that, in the sense that you have a little bit of a discipline, you've made the effort, then it will not hold. You will not have access to it. You have to.
That's right.
You got to do the work.
You have to be in resonance with it. You said it. Because if you're not in resonance with the highest order of righteousness and kindness and compassion, then you cannot have the extra gifts that go along with it. It's really it's really set in place naturally. Nobody's standing there. Well, maybe somebody is standing there saying, "Nope, you can't get there. I'm sorry, you got to go back and start over and learn your lessons first." That's probably that too, but I think in resonance, if you are already vibrating at a high frequency, there's almost no limit to where you can get your next lessons from. or what energy will be provided to you by your angels, by Christ, by God to accomplish those purposes, especially if He put you here for that reason, if you feel it in your heart to be a certain way, I mean, whatever you need, it can be there for you. Just being ready for it, that's all. Just being ready.
It's not a narrowing, it's an expansion. People say, I'm moving, or I wish to resonate at a higher frequency. And many people think it's being drawn into a very acute paradigm or a very single source. It's the other way around. When you resonate at a higher frequency, you're moving up from a very low density vibrational form. You are opening yourself up to greater frequencies, so much more, a completely different. We're talking about, it's so expansive that it would blow your mind, so that you can't just jump into it. Otherwise, literally, you will just go, poof. It's just too much to handle.
Pop.
Yeah. It's too much to handle. You have to.
It's too much energy for even the physical being to handle. Just the physical structure would probably blow apart because of it. But you're right. I think people think that frequency is just straight line, right? Like it's one narrow straight line. I'll just jump over here when I feel like it, or jump over there. But it is, like you say, I visualize it like a reverse pyramid. We're in this dense form, and I think there are denser places than this even.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
But you go upwards, you go outwards. You see, you include other life forms. You include other ideas. You include more acceptance, more patience, a wider scale of time, into the billions of years. Your expansion equals that widening out, wherever you're ready to absorb. And you know what else it says in the Bible? There's a couple of things that said that people couldn't look at God directly because they would just, dissolve. I mean, they couldn't handle the intensity. And it's the same thing they said about the Ark. The mysterious Ark of the Covenant, which is still like unknown. They said only the purest souls were able to go in and be the caretakers, because otherwise they would not survive it. The energy was too intense. I'd like to know where that is. I'm sure a lot of people do.
I'm sure they know where it is. Whether it's been recovered or not is another thing. There are many mysteries that we have not been privy to that have been brought forth, I think. But going back just a little bit, see, I see this place. We're intermingling with so many different energies or people, or sort of souls at different states and places and value systems here. I see this place as sort of it's like an airport, or like a large field where we're all sort of bouncing around, and it's a separating, it's like a separation screen. There'll be those that want to stay, those that want to shift down a little bit or move over, and those that want to shift over here or move up. So this place has got so much going on. It's up to you to clarify yourself. It's up to you in how you govern yourself, and how you what effect you have on others and yourself out of your own being. I think that's the trick of this place, is it's up to you. Sorry, it's hard to get across some of these concepts.
I know. Sometimes we go to these high places and we leave the words behind at another level. So and then you have to translate. How do we translate those greater spaces that are wordless? That's a trick right there. I think when you get to that place, you're almost like Christ, where he was trying to explain things. And we're like, well, look, be still and know. Oh, what are you talking about? They're like, be still and know. What is that?
They don't have but they don't have a foundation in. They don't have that foundation. They don't know where to start, and that's the problem. I think the value and the love is there, and the desire is you just don't know where to place it. Where's the cornerstone? Where are they rooting themselves? There's so much chaos out there. People are being pulled left, right, and center, be it in 3D, legal, 2D, paperwork, or everything else. And then the ego gets in the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
People get lost in this level, pursuing things that society expects of them. Well, I did that. Get the job, get the house, find a husband, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, and I tried that.
I tried that. Yeah. It didn't work out.
But it didn't work. I wasn't cut out for that. What I was cut out for was trying to shift people's minds to a higher level, which put me in a smaller percentage of society. But that's okay. I'm good with that. It's just that I think most people, probably 96, 97% of the population, is much more, say, programmable, right? Yeah. Because they do what they're taught to do. You get these degrees, you get this job, then you pursue a career, and you make this X number of dollars, and that makes you a bona fide person in society. And then we can all have our parties and slap you on the back and say what a good person you are, And then you somehow decide in your mind, I've accomplished that and I'm done. But actually, it doesn't end there. Then they start pursuing more and more properties, more and more corporations, more and more financial outlets and markets, and it becomes like a more complicated game.
But it's on one level. It's just in a one little spot that this whole orchestrated, it's almost like an encampment. It's basically a gathering of all this energy to serve a very small paradigm, when there's so much more. There's so much greater out there. Yes, you need food and shelter, and you do have to live in the world partially so that your physical body is maintained. But beyond that, the systems that are here are inverted. We are poisoning the air, the water, the land. We're using, quote, technology, which is not technology. Real technology is organic tech, God tech, I call it, not plastic and metal to push radio signals or anything else. Organic technology, traditional. So we've shifted into a very small, although it has a large scape, we seem to think has a large scape, but a very small paradigm. And by using things like the pillar of light here, this is going to help you to access and energies, we'll say, that will help govern you in a more cleaner way. And I have used something similar in the past too. I tweak it occasionally. Sometimes if I'm being hit, I'll add different materials, and these are all projected through knowing of what 3D is, but it's projected into a etheric state. Who was it said that imagination and creativity is reality? If you can imagine it, it will be. And that is very much true, is that we're using these techniques, although we may not see them physically. Well, some people may see them physically manifest if you're that acute and that skilled, but you're bringing in from a higher source to create, instead of pushing a 3D matrix around to force something into something else. And that's a very low way of thinking, of taking something 3D and molding it and shaping it into something, or controlling and taking from others to get a result in a very narrow form. You're actually being gifted from Creator, Source, God, and it's there. It's abundant. You don't have to fight. You don't have to kill. You don't have to steal, lie, or cheat. That's why today I was a little bit despondent. I looked around with my interactions, and I said, the world is filled with all these people acting poorly, meaning they'll cheat, They'll steal, they'll lie to you, they'll misrepresent, and for what advantage? And to me, and then I realized that they're simply drawing on a very shallow pool. They don't know that there's a broader, there's an infinite, unlimited energy. They're victims too. They really are victims, and they don't know it.
They're looking at the short-term gain rather than the expanded gain.
Yeah. So I really love using that technique. And if you're being hit, it does work. Actually, it really does work. You've actually taken yourself almost out of 3D space, and you've brought in 5D or greater energy, different dimensional energy, into this plane where they have no effect on you. Excuse me.
Yes. That's where it leads me to the next. There is this part of it's called the. Let me get that page again. If you're in danger, I'll read this part while you're doing that. Okay, there are situations where protection from danger is needed in short notice. In the case of any physical danger, you should, of course, employ common sense measures to protect yourself in the material level, but psychic defense, as well, can still be an excellent reinforcement when the material defenses have been looked to, besides being a morale booster for you. Okay, that's one of their paragraphs. Now, here's the thing where he says to practice the Tower of Light technique so that when you get into an emergency situation, it's easy for you to just click it on. In other words, if your body and mind know that space, know that color, know that shape, feel it, sense it, then your body has cellular memory. And then when you just give yourself the trigger, the cue, then you can just turn it on. Like if I get into a situation that's kind of like dark or chaotic, I will say, shields up, bam, I can see it right there. And it's done, shields up, done. Well, here's the same technique that I shared before, and this is how they simplify it. I'll just give you the preface on that. Again, we're talking from Psychic Self-Defense and Well-Being, the book. Okay. In any such cases, the ensuing Tower of Light emergency method is valuable, although its efficacy is likely to depend largely upon the customary strength of your aura. In other words, don't gamble upon an unearned success with it, although such can occur. You should perform the regular method daily, and having practiced to a state of proficiency, use the emergency method only in necessity. In such circumstances, it can turn aside or even quell the violent impulse of an assailant. It can bring, in a moment's intermission, amid the buffetings of the elements. That's a very powerful statement right there. It says it can bring in a moment's intermission amid the buffetings of the elements. So it could shift the energies around you as well. It doesn't hold off a car, but somehow if you bring in all those intergalactic lights, for instance, it could change a situation. You can actually transform the outcome in a moment's notice. Okay, finishing this paragraph for you. Not least, it can calm and illumine your mind and perhaps bring to your conscious perceptions some all-important details which make a vital difference to your welfare. So instead of getting caught up in the angst, the anger, the fear of the moment, calming your mind might alert you to a very vital piece of information that's hanging around in your circumstance, in your environment maybe. You've seen this in these martial arts movies where they slow time down, they look around, they're aware of the exit door and the piece of metal on the table and the glass and whatever. That comes with that state. That's a real state of mind that you can achieve. Okay, here it is. Tower of Light emergency method. 1. Visualize at once the auric ellipsoid of intense blue light around you, and within its apex, just above your head, the brilliant white sphere of light of your higher self. 2. Aware of the brilliant globe over your head, aspire to the highest good you're capable of conceiving, realizing, though this globe is visualized symbolically, it represents a part of your true divine force. 3. See that dazzling sphere sending down a glittering white light. This light, filled with silver sparkles, floods your aura and at the same time completely permeates you, coursing vibrantly through you. See the sharp blue outline of your aura's hard protective shell. 4. Keep this in visualization for as long as the need lasts, or as long as you can reasonably do so. And then in caps, right below it, it says, when you let the image fade from your consciousness, know the reality of this protection is still invisibly around you. So again, I stress that if you practice it, then when you're in a dangerous situation, when you're getting anxiety or depression, you can snap on the light, just turn it on, and start looking around, seeing what are you missing? What do you need to know? What can you pray for? Maybe there's something you could say that would diffuse the situation. Maybe there's nothing at all that you need to do. Maybe all these options are available and more. But you have to get into that be still and know state, like Yeshua says. Be still and know. But he also says that, God, right? I'll find the quote for you. Be still and know that God is with you. But in that moment, you're not disconnected. That light of God right above your head, shimmering down. Light contains information, by the way. Photons contain information. If you bring that light in, you could be getting fed a whole nother awareness that maybe wasn't present with you in the 3D. So, just I'll say that. I'm going to look for the be still and know in my Bible so I can share that with some education.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe sound educated. I know it's here.
Our thoughts being scalar waves and connecting into greater source. I mean, the power of that is phenomenal. And we've been misguided not to use it, or to use it in a limited way. If we expand that, we use these basic techniques, we can truly empower ourselves. It's helped me on numerous occasions.
Yes.
You just got to just trust in it and keep developing it, and it tends to expand pretty quick. I wish more people would use it.
Oh my goodness. I knew I had to open this book for some reason, and you're right. Boom. Okay, I was going to say be still and know, and look what showed up. Okay, John 1, line 50. Jesus answered, do you believe me just because I said that I saw you under the fig tree? You will see something even greater. 51. I tell you for certain that you will see heaven open and God's angels going up and coming down on the Son of Man.
Cool. Wow.
Like, whoa, he said it. He said it, not me.
It's right there.
And here's another one that on the next page, chapter 3. And it says, talk about being still and knowing. People who do evil hate the light and won't come to the light because it clearly shows what they have done. But everyone who lives by the truth will come to the light, because they want others to know that God is really the one doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you build light around you, I think that's true. You keep building the light around you. Some dark people just don't want to come near you. They're like, that we don't belong together. I mean, just instinctively.
You can feel it.
They're like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you're drawn to the light, then you're probably of the same resonance.
The only ones that'll try and come near you are the ones that want to feed off that. So you got to learn to identify those people too. So.
Yeah, there's the whole vampire thing. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if we should go into that today, but yeah,
no, that's
it does
energy
exist.
harvesting.
Yeah.
But building light does work. I have pushed my energetic field out a couple times. Even used, I wouldn't say aggression, but an action to block something, and it has a physical effect, guys. So, yeah, it's interesting when you see it validated and you have experienced it, and that says, okay, there's something else. So,
can you? Let me get a better sense of that then. So you expanded your light out, or did you push it out like as a ball of light, or did you throw it out like something like an object?
An incident where I saw it was an incident. This one specifically, it wasn't because I was being attacked. I had doing errands one day, just walking down the street, anything else, and I could just feel this malevolence coming down. And I didn't see the person, felt the energy. It was almost like a gray-black smoke, and immediately shields up, bang, and then all I could remember, it was almost instantaneously imagining almost like a large boxer glove of energy, this huge, like 10 times the size, and just taking a swath at it. And it was just almost instinct. And sure enough, bang, the thing disappeared. And I cannot express it. And it was just this, it was drawing it down and then pushing it out. And I pushed it out with this energetic wave, and that lower frequency, or I wouldn't say lower, but that darker
force.
Yeah, the force, or see, I don't want to give it a name because I really didn't key into what it was. It just simply it couldn't handle the energy. It couldn't handle it, and it had to go somewhere. It couldn't be there at that same place because I had filled it with a higher vibration. So that was a validation.
Yeah,
And it was just instinct. I didn't know what I was doing. It was just, bang, what the hell? And I was shocked. And I continued on. And then I had, you kind of think back. So if you build these skills, like a lot of martial artists, they'll train for, days and hours and blah, blah, blah. But it only takes that 1 second to really activate everything for you to continue on unharmed. So I think it's important for people to, at least once a day, build your light. Or if you have a few seconds at the sink, you're washing dishes, build your light. Doing something, build your light. And then learn to expand it, or use your creativity. One of the films that, quote, Hollywood put out was Green Lantern. This person had the ability, after being endowed by such Green Lantern, to use his creativity and manifest physically different forms at which he would use to his advantage to combat, quote, evil. We can do that ourselves. It's not in the cartoon version, it's the reality of it. So, and there are different things too. I think there are different tools of energy to be used differently in different circumstances. But
yes. You know what? It made me think. What you were describing, this energy, that if you have, like you said, martial arts training, you got training, you know what to do when, and you don't hesitate, it's like it's done as soon as you think of it. Well, I think that a dark energy, if it isn't formed yet, I think if it starts out as a thought form from somewhere else, then it takes a while for it to gather momentum, and force against you.
Sure.
But if you get back at it before it has solidified, then you have an edge. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it starts out it's like a rain cloud, right? So if it's a mist, yeah, it's got moisture, yeah, it does. But it doesn't actually have thunder clouds. It doesn't have thunder or lightning coming from it. It hasn't gotten dense enough to have a strong impact. So if you can get this dark force before it becomes a thunder cloud,
yeah,
before it has power, then you can dissipate it much more easily. And that comes with sensitivity and awareness. You have to be aware on those levels before it's too late and it's sitting in the chair next to you,
Yikes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I just kind of thought of all of that just now while you were talking.
Yeah.
The whole analogy with cloud formation as well, because really, thunder and lightning is an exertion of power, right?
Yeah. God uses lightning. It's actually a weapon here, I think, in one of his, in the book here, Spiritual Warfare, and one of the tools in his armory is lightning. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, let's hear that.
The lightning of
good.
God. Let me just read. Let me see if it's here. 113. The lightning of God. Let's see what it is. I'm curious. Let me just get my X-ray specs on here. So the lightning of God. This is a weapon that will give the enemy public disgrace. It is a powerful weapon that can be used to arrest and to deflect satanic arrows. It is a suitable weapon for fighting foundational battles. You'll need it when you want anti-breakthrough powers or to somersault, for them to somersault and die. You can use the weapon when you want to totally confuse evil. And then it goes basically, cast forth lightning and scatter them, shoot out thine arrows and destroy them. And then there's some other passages. It's actually quite extensive. It's 2 pages here. It's an unchallengeable weapon. And there are prayer points. One being, lightning of God, arise and strike terror and fear into the camp of my enemies in the name of Yahuwah. So it's these are you have to have a true knowing and integrity, and for you to access this, you have to be very clear, intentful, and heartful for that. You can be shown the weapons, I think. You can say, here's the armory, but you got to learn how to use them, know what they're for. Like with everything I think that we're doing here, it has to be truthful in a sense that you're ready for it. You have a clear intent and a desire. Because there's no, you can't lie to a higher dimension energy. You can't lie up.
No way. Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. So, yeah, lightning and thunder, interesting. And there's also like storms and pestilence, and all these are energetic forms. Although they're being conveyed in a 3D form, they come from a higher place. So you use the lightning, like you bring the lightning down from the sky, or you emit lightning like from your inner being to do that? I haven't gone through that format here because I'm still a newbie and going through the previous chapters here. Why don't I read it and we'll save it for next week?
Okay. Because I'm curious. Yeah, there's different ways to do it.
It's a way of manifesting, seeing the tool is here to be creative, but knowing the basic principles of the tool, seeing that this is the brush, this is the paint, this is the canvas, this is how you can apply it, but you got to make it your own. Know that it's there, but you can I think it only works in doing good because it's coming from a higher source. It's not an inversion, meaning you're not taking the energy through occultism like what witchcraft does and steals energy to create an outcome. This comes from God, from his armory, for you to do his will. So he knows if you want to be deceptive or you want to use it for personal gain, or if you want to do something according to his will. If you're here to fight his war, if you're on his team, then you'll have access to it. A lot of people, that's why
Absolutely.
they go into the
Yeah.
occult, because they want, uh, their values are different than what it's set out for. And then they get into
Yeah.
trouble.
That's
And they,
exactly right. Yeah. Warning, warning, danger. If you go into the occult and because you want that ego gratification, that sense of prowess, whatever, people are looking for,
status, yeah.
those things yes, status, rank. Um, I would say rank with like rank, because that could also smell.
Yep. And hey, it does stink.
It,
Trust me. It rots. Yeah, it is rotten. It is,
but it can backfire because, like we said earlier, if your balloon is not tight and you don't have the integrity and you don't have the truth, those things can blow up. It's like a tire. I mean, if a tire is a weak spot, it would blow up into a little bubble, and it'll ride lumpy. It won't
Yep.
ride smooth.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that if they wanted true, you know, it goes beyond words again.
I know.
If you wanted that true power, all you have to do is go towards God. He's the one who created everything. All the frequencies, all the elements, everything that you're playing around with in these little ritual rooms. It makes no sense that they would want to stay separate from the Almighty and try to do these little secret things that
Secret from
as
whom?
if nobody's watching. It's no secret. Yeah.
I know.
There's no secret. Everybody knows. I mean, eventually everyone's going to know. As soon as you get out of your body, you're going to see everything.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that they're kowtowing to these other guys with suits and belts and pretty shiny buttons and who are they?
I call them the fallen, those who have chosen to fall, or the lesser than. God is the greatest warrior in all aspects, from creational, from beginning to end. So, yeah. I think we're learning
going
too.
Into those.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, just we're learning too. As we're chatting here, what's being gifted to us to share.
Right.
It's
and
hard
you said it earlier. When you're ready for something, you will be gifted that thing. Let's say you're ready to use the lightning, then the understanding of how to use that lightning will be available. If you reject it, if you're not ready for it, then maybe another time. Maybe
it won't
you'll
have
be
an
more
effect.
ready then.
You can will it, you can push for it, but it won't be there because you don't have access to it. You're just not there. And there's nothing wrong with it. You're doing baby steps. You're learning to walk. You're learning to run, dance, sing, play. It's just another skill. But that's something I think that it's been marginalized, spiritual warfare in our society, because there's so much. Again, I wouldn't say evil. There's so many people making poor contracts for a very limited value. That's how I see it. It's kind of weird. I mean, I see it from a pragmatic standpoint, and then I see it from an artistic, spiritual standpoint. I think that's maybe I'm fighting myself in different ways, but you see cause and effect. What's the gain versus if I don't do that, this is a better. Learning to navigate yourself, I think, is the greatest thing here.
Yes, integrity is part
Bingo.
of it.
Thank you. That's exactly yes. Like today, I've been dealing with something for the past month that someone who did not have integrity, simply out of a financial gain, although this individual was brought to their attention about the dishonor, is trying to is being a child about it, in a sense that does not want to take responsibility for their actions. And at this stage of the game, really, I just don't have the patience or tolerance for it. And and some people just can't handle the direct route that I like to take, because I don't have time. I'd rather be
why mess around with that?
Yeah. I don't have the energy time for that. I'd rather be in a a place where I can contribute my energy in a loving way. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the backpedaling aspect of creation that we were talking about before.
Backpedaling,
you know?
Kidding.
Backpedal with some people who want to lie and fib their way through a contract. Come on, look, I'm reading you right now. I can see, I'm saying just in general, like you can't just fluff that over me. I'm going to see what maybe sometimes I don't even react. Like I'll just be standing there while they're lying.
Nice.
Like I'll just stand there like, well, you can say that, but I'm going to go ahead with what I decided already. Like I bought this car. It had several problems. I knew I was going to buy the car. The guy was lying through his teeth about everything.
Surprise.
And but I knew I was going to get the car because it was the right time. It was the right kind. And I was willing to, I had to
compromise.
Make some repair. I had to make some repairs. But he's like, this car. When he was on the phone, he was lying to me. I get there and I see like, it's not clean, for instance, right? Oh yeah, it's clean. It just has a little bit of crayons from the kids. I look at this thing. It was like 2 inches of grime, like all over the floors. I said, all right, we'll do this, but you're going to clean this car, and then we'll get the paperwork done. So I made him take it to the store.
Yeah, get it detailed. Yes, slob.
But no. It was just he wanted to get. I think he was just turning over a cheap car,
Okay.
Anyway, so one thing led to another. Anyway, it was one of those times where I knew the guy was lying. He wasn't fooling me in any way. But I would just sit there and go, yeah, I know that's not true. Yeah. And then I went ahead and did what I was going to do anyway. But I don't always confront people because why use the energy for it? It's just, I know it's going to turn into some kind of argument.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean? And how could you say that? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going there. I'm not going to waste my time with that. I'm just going to accomplish yes or no. If I don't want it, I'm walking away. That's all. I'm not afraid to walk away.
Nice.
So it's just those things. And sometimes, it's like, I guess we're on the calls and we hear a lot of stories, but we haven't met any of these people. I haven't. And I only know people by what they say and what they've said before and what they said before that, and do all the pieces add up. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes their stories change. Sometimes, you understand that that's their perspective and it could change anyway. If it's just a belief or it's a perception, perception is a big part of this game. And how you modify your perceptions can completely change how you play. And, in the situation of people who are being victimized, your perception can completely change your game and how you deal with it.
That's exactly what this is.
So
perception management in a very limited form, this 3D form, perception management. Right on, Sue. Because what you read, what you see, what you think about, if they're using weaponry, your neighbor, you may not see the systems behind it. It's perception, and they limit and they lock you down into a very narrow pattern for them to control and play with you, That's why these systems, I think what you're doing here, these spiritual calls, I think will give us tools. We. Sorry for the recording, it's we. And
no, you're fine.
I know. And it gives us the ability to dance. I see this as learning how to dance instead of just saying you got to walk in a straight line. Yeah.
The whole perceptual, we could do a whole nother hour on that, because perception is what changes how you operate in this reality or any other reality. So
How do you base your choices? Yeah, exactly. Your choice, your value, your perception. That's a threat or that's a positive. That's something of value. Someone that says, I need another pair of shoes because I'm supposed to be pretty and whatever. That's all. But it's perception. So it's all based on perception. And I think that's something that really needs to be addressed, because I think we would really grow if we really identify perception value systems to better ourselves. And so what's really of value, what isn't? Most people make poor choices, I've done it in the past, because of certain perceptions that you felt you needed at that time. And then it limits you, it locks you down, and gets you stuck in the mud. And
just to make an illustration for anybody who's listening, that is to say, you perceive yourself in poverty or you perceive yourself in prosperity. Which one? It's all relative. It's all relative to everything. So you're abundant because you have life, you have a roof over your head, you've got food, there's rain outside, the trees are still alive. We are living in an abundant universe, and on, and you can add all kinds of affirmations to reinforce it. It becomes your belief. Or you have a perception of poverty. I don't have a big house. I don't have a luxury sedan. I don't have, like a big circle of friends.
I need another tattoo.
And then you're all, I don't have this, I don't have that. All the things that you don't have relative to what's in the world, right? Oh, I don't have a mansion. No, you might not need a mansion. Do you realize how much work a mansion is? Do you want to really do that? I mean, but the thing is, it starts with that perception. And this program absolutely wants to hone your perceptions. Just think of all the people who say, I only get white vans, always white vans. Why do I always have,
I heard that.
There's a white van right now sitting outside my house. Well, no, that's because you think it's going to be white vans all the time. You don't even perceive the red truck behind the tree, this and that, the sound, the people. You're not perceiving those because you've already narrowed your line of vision to whatever it is that you've decided is the reality of it.
Yep.
All the people on the calls are this way or that way. No, they're not. Not all. No, and not never, and not always, and not every time. And
I haven't met another person my way. There's similar ways, but I think we're all relatively unique to a degree. We have commonalities, and there are certain things that overlap. But I think that we're all individual, beautiful, bright, shiny, amazing. It's just that we've been messed with. Got to break through that.
Yeah, they're seriously trying to manipulate society now.
It's ugly.
It goes beyond media, but that's really, after they started broadcasting radio, and then there were commercials, and you need to buy bleach, and that they started shaping this society's minds through the propaganda machine, And the propaganda machine just grew and expanded and took on different shapes and sizes and colors. And now it's so prevalent, everything. If they get into this pre-crime deal where they're flashing you like Minority Report.
It's insane. There's no foundation in science, no foundation in law. It's complete hokum, all of it, simply to set people up, to keep a lockdown on souls and their expression for a very few to benefit. And it's just another tool that they want to bring out and play. And it's wrong, period. This has nothing to do with the advancement of souls here. This is soul squashing. It will draw mankind and this world back into further than Stone Ages in any type of development. It's meant to arrest mankind and the souls that are here. and womankind. Well, mankind and
Yeah.
womankind, same thing, but all souls here,
Yeah.
and it's a weapon system. It is nothing to better our civilization. So
They really are coloring people's perceptions of what is real and what isn't, and what is valuable. Like, do you really have to keep upgrading your iPhones every 6 months? Is that, where did that, so let's take it back to the seed of perception. Did you perceive that that's an important thing? Yes, then move on to the next iPhone. If no, you don't need it. You're already, a valuable, worthy soul the way you are, just the way you are. You are. And you don't have to have another 10 iPhones to make you valuable. So that's going back. You need this. You have to get this plan. You need all these apps. You don't need. You don't need any of those things. That is just perceptual marketing. And if it's a bright color that you like, oh, yeah, I need that. No, you don't. Just change what you think before you buy what they're trying to sell you. Do you
it's
really
a contract.
need...
Do you agree with that system? All the people that slaved away to create something, to mine that material out, to create something, the machines and tools, the dye forms, the electricity and energy, and those people who had to put it together, the food, the animals that had to be murdered so that they could put that together for you to enjoy, so you can push a button. Also, they could track and control you. Are you out of your soul? No, I haven't had a cell phone for almost 7 years. There's no point to it. And there's one affirmation I like to say occasionally, which is, I am a free, whole, sovereign being. I'm a free, whole, sovereign being. When you're whole, you're free, and that you're guided by God's divine grace, what do you need? And that's why they attack you, because you know who you are. And they can't control that. They can't steal from you. They have to use subversion.
They have to make you feel small and little so that you start going to buy their things, the next car, the next house, the next job. When you look back at the Bible again, Old or New Testament, the greatest leaders were the humblest people. They were shepherds. They didn't have a closet full of clothes and shoes. They could hear, feel, know God in what He wanted them to do. I mean, it's just incredible that the people that He chose to be kings, just like when David was out there, he was just a little boy, and he was the smallest. He was like the runt of his family. And all the big brothers show, oh, maybe me, maybe I should, because Samuel was there, he had a vision. He was supposed to go pick out the next king. And it was like, no, it's not any of these. Oh, they're big and strong, they got maybe a big voice. But here was a little boy out in the field, and he was shepherding, and he was a musician. I mean, he was a sensitive soul. He was not, your typical, executive director of the corporation. It's like he's not, but he became the one, and just one of many, but still, like, you just really think about all the people that he guided to. They didn't have mansions, and really, I'm a little stumped right now. Like, wow. So you have to be poverty-stricken to be godly? No, not necessarily. People are going to ask that question. Like, oh, does that mean I have to be poor to be spiritual? Not necessarily. You just have to be unattached to your material life in order to be willing to release. When He says go, you got to go. When He says give that thing to somebody, then you have to give it. It's not going to be a hemming and hawing. It's time to give, or it's time to receive, or it's time to do nothing at all. No job, no more businesses. This is your path now because I decided, because God decided. And you have to be willing to listen to that. It's not whether you own a lot or not. When Joseph was brought down into Egypt he was sold, he was sold by his brothers because he was a dream interpreter. He was a dreamer and a dream interpreter. And his brothers were very kind of worldly, they wanted to make the money, and they get down there and first they think they're going to kill him, and then they said, no, let's sell him. Well, God's plan was to get him down to Egypt where he could be the dream interpreter for the Pharaoh. He ended up living in the palace with everything, right? He ended up having like this luxurious life because he was serving their, kingdom there. And they didn't know that they were actually doing him a favor by putting him that day in the middle of the desert where they were trying to get rid of him. And so, God works very mysteriously. He will take you out of a pit and make you the king's servant. He will take you from your faithlessness into glory and revelation if you're opening your mind. And let me make this full circle for the spiritual warfare aspect, because they're not opposite directions. If God calls you to be the dream interpreter for the president, then you go, because he might want you to influence the entire country, and that means you're fighting the right fight. You're on the right side. And if he tells you, don't fight at all, I'm going to do this warfare for you, then you follow that, But you don't know. You can't go by what the family said, what the friends said, what your neighbors said, or anybody else. You have to be willing to let go. It doesn't mean that you're poor. If you can be in a huge house and still feel poor, and still want more and more and more, and never feel like you fulfilled it. But I think in a roundabout way, I'm saying that as long as you're staying on the side of righteousness, then you are in that war. And you just hold that. Whether you fight or you don't fight is on a moment-to-moment basis. Whether you engage verbally or physically, on a moment-to-moment basis, you have to be in tune with that light and let Christ guide you, let your angels guide you as to the right thing at the right time, because it's not all one answer for everybody.
And that's the way it's set up. If it was just one simple answer, one direction, it'd be easily conquered, but it'd be also easily managed. I mean, this is look at, as a creative person, I like to look back and see things from a greater perspective. We'll say, opening up. It's beautiful, although there's tremendous, there's a dichotomy between, dark and love and hate. It's really amazing how this has been put together. And I'm just in awe every day of God's divine creation and how we're a part of that. You mentioned serving King. Yes, I think every one of us, I think you can choose it, maybe bestowed upon you from birthright. You don't know. But who do you contract with? That's the way I look at it. Who do you contract with? Are you in love? Do you serve love, the Most High of all, or do you want to be somewhere else? I don't know. Maybe some people aren't built to love God. You ever think of that? That maybe the ones that choose a lesser than position are deliberately built to strengthen us, although they themselves also exist. They are not in the same form or same, I wouldn't say value, but they have a different purpose. Meaning they cannot, they're there to provide contrast for us. because we wouldn't be able
Exactly. Yeah.
to know without that contrast.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
What a
It
ride,
says
Sue,
it
I
says
tell you.
that.
It's a
I
ride.
know. And sometimes I really wish I didn't have to, get this strong at it. But you're right. It clearly states in a lot of places that the people, the souls, right, not just individual people, but the souls that he wants close to him will be refined. They
I like
clearly,
that.
and I've had this on my mind for like 5 years. How, if you're going to put on a piece of jewelry, you're going to refine it, right? You're going to cut the stone, you're going to polish it, you're going to, shape it. It's got to fit, right? You got to have the right size. He is refining us because he's going to put us on like his jewels, of his kingdom. And he wants us refined. He doesn't want us just flopping around in life, haphazardly,
Unfinished.
getting fried chicken and sauce and.
That's the value of my life: tailgating and beer. Life is
Drinking
good.
kegs of beer and falling off your truck.
But you see, that's part of the distortion. That's all part of the distortion, like I call it. Yeah. They've funneled the energy of these beautiful people into a very small paradigm to feed off of them and to keep them controlled. Instead, if they really knew a little more or challenged themselves, they would be greater than. But I know we all have our journeys. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that system exists.
I try not to judge. I really do. But no, I think that because we're in a situation where we have enemies, we clearly have enemies that we have to keep at bay. We have to protect ourselves, shield ourselves, outthink them, underthink them, overthink them.
Yeah.
And that part, it's not judging, so much the people who, drink a lot. I mean, that's just kind of a funny thing. But they're not inherently evil. The ones that I have a real problem with are the ones who take evil into themselves and live it out and act it out. And that's where I feel like, why shouldn't I judge that? That's my role here. I have to separate myself from that and anybody else who's confused about who are the real people and who aren't. Who are the real leaders and who aren't. That's part of my job. So discernment, let's say. Maybe that's a better word. To discern somebody in a nice suit doesn't necessarily mean good for you. Right? They show up.
They're usually the worst people to be with. Step away from them. If they're wearing a suit and a noose, forget it. Walk away.
And a noose. I know. Where did that tie come from anyway? But okay, I know that in our society people say, you shouldn't be judgmental. That's not nice. Let's smoke a doobie and get it over with.
Oh, please,
just forget about it. But no, I feel that maybe discernment is a refinement of judgment, right? First you sort out the big chunks, right? That's judgment. Then you sort out the little pieces. That's discernment. So, finer and finer levels of, is this resonating with my true nature, or is this some other agenda that I have to stay away from? And sometimes it's just on a thought level, and sometimes it's really blatant, just really coarse and violent.
Was it? I think I'm paraphrasing here, but I think God has given you one face, and you make yourself into another. I think that was William Shakespeare, and it's so true. So you really have to refine yourself back to that original state of being who you are, instead of molding yourself to false ideals. That's the trick of this place. Just keeping clean. Be who you are, but we have so much to navigate. And as TIs, we're hypersensitive, we're acute, we're harmed, we're knocked down. We're dealing with AI, artificial pathogens, chemicals, weaponry, and then you got the emotional state of all these people who are also confused, we'll say, for a better term, harmed and confused. And Yeah, it's a mess. So you got to weave through that mess. And I think the pillar of light is a wonderful tool to start, or to at least have in your armory. It's one tool that you should definitely, everybody should have. Practice it, and the more you practice it, it becomes acute. It's fast. It'll almost it's like you'll just use a switch, and boom, it's there. Instead of having to draw it in and manifest it and to really visualize and feel it, it'll become second nature.
Yeah, and also if after you've done it a while, you've already been cleaned up, so the negative thought forms in your own self or things that are hanging around you will no longer exist to confuse your state of discernment. If you have clarity, then when you put the pillar of light up, you'll see thought forms before they hurt you. You'll feel people's intention before they act. You will be sensitive to the space in a room. And of course you extend your abilities to noticing, well, did somebody die here? I feel a spirit. Or is my angel trying to get me out? Or, the pillar of light is just the foundation of reinforcement and clarification, that from there you can expand all kinds of abilities in different directions after that. You can't really, this takes us back to some of the psychic game playing that they're putting on people. It's outside of the digital. It's like, sometimes people will get an image in their mind that wasn't theirs, like some kind of evil image, right?
I've had that.
It could, they can transmit that right to your frontal cortex, so that you see something, you think it's your own imagination. But if you don't have that clarity, then you don't know, oh, this is an intrusion on my mind. Right now I'm going to send it away, push it away, and know that, you can do that, even if it's generated by CGI or BCI or some other three-letter thing that they made. They are intruding on people's minds with not only auditory but visual cues too, depending on if you're a visual person or not, of course. They will give you, they can give you snippets of video games, let's say, or, Jason movies, those horrible movies that are out there.
Rituals or people's faces or events or the foreshadowing or to knock you off from doing what you're doing. They'll try to destabilize you or to shift your attention away.
Yeah, to get you to be afraid.
It's nasty.
To make you confused. All those things. I mean, that again, I like the word cascade because it's just like that. If the seed takes root, if the seed of an evil vampire or something that you're afraid of takes root in your mind, then you might start being afraid of all kinds of vampirish things, and then it expands out into your reactions to life. Then it's culling your perceptions. It's aggravating certain emotions, and then on and on. So the cascade really starts with that plant, whatever that implant is. And it doesn't have to be like one of those transmitter implants. It can be just a thought.
A thought or a bump in a certain direction. You'll have emotional charge to something, or you'll have some misinformation, and that'll create a riff, and then that riff will widen because you're seeing it from one point, the other person from another, but the two of you really are in agreement, but you just don't know because there's been an infraction there. There's been harm through that miscommunication, and that's what they do, is they continually try to bump you to create, a dissonant frequency, one that doesn't match to your true being and how you're trying to be governed in life. They keep bumping you off, and they use these techniques. Weaponry, chemicals, thought projection, R&M, all this stuff, V2K, they're always trying to throw you off from who and what you really are. to know who you really are, and that there's tools for us. There are weapons, there are tools, there's a different way of being than a white picket fence and a sports car. Because that's not a lifestyle, I think, anymore that can be promoted. We're here to do a job. Where mankind is right now, with all the illusions that they've used in the masks and the political theater, we are here now, I think, to stand. And where you stand matters. I'm standing with Dad. Hey, Dad, I'm with you. Let's go have some fun.
Dad, your Father in heaven? You mean?
You got it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only father. People refer to their biological fathers as dad or father. That's just a vessel. That's a body. Of course, the soul pushed it around and did the, hanky-panky to get you going. But there's the true father, the one that created all. Dad is the big dad upstairs. It's just a point of reference. It's your perception. So when I say father or dad, I'm meaning source, creation, God. Yeah.
I just took a little sip of tea.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. You sounded a little parched. You needed some water, so.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, don't apologize.
We haven't had anybody else to bounce off of, so we've been occupying.
Yeah,
no, this is good though. Actually, I think this is maybe better than last week. We seem to be more focused and much more articulate in really practical skills, and so I'm just going to take another sip of tea.
You do what you need to.
And
so yeah, really.
You go on. So, hey, give us another one of those tools out of the book.
Sure. And then eventually
one that you've already covered. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just get the book out here. There's several here. Dun, 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 dun. It has to resonate. The tools are there, but you have to resonate with the tools. Although you may comprehend them, you may know of them. I think the book is 101 Weapons of Spiritual Warfare, but you have to resonate with them. I've sort of been reading this book and trying to internalize it. One weapon here, which is actually I think it's very, very strong, is the indignation of God. This one was quite interesting. Most of these are meant from a spiritual point of view, although I think you can manifest them into physical reality. The fact that they can have a spiritual value and weight on those that are causing you harm, that sends in an energetic wave. I see it as an energetic source coming in and affecting what you see as causing harm. So it may not manifest physically like you'll see a physical lightning bolt. You will have an energetic value placed upon the actors or participants who are causing you harm. So the weapon here, number 7 in this book, is indignation of God. And this is to be used when you want to invoke God's anger upon the associates of satanic agents. It can be used to destabilize the mission of stubborn pursuers. It is a powerful weapon to be used to disgrace, paralyze satanic agents sent to steal your glory and to swallow your virtue. So each one of these weapons have a basic function, and then it gets into a little more detail as to how it can be steered. It is a powerful weapon for every power that has vowed that will not let you be delivered, meaning that it's a freeing weapon. Depending on, I'd say darker forces, there's a hierarchy system. And when you start to be more of a pain in the ass to them, they will scale up and send larger agents against you and use negative energies. This is something to destabilize them. It is a powerful weapon for every power that has vowed that you will not be delivered. It is a weapon to be used when you are dealing with powers that bite without any remnant, meaning it's meant to consume you, it's meant to take away, to harm your birthright, your reason for being here. From Ezekiel 22:31, it states here, "Therefore I have poured out mine indignation upon them. I have consumed them with fire of my wrath. Their own way I have recompensed upon their heads, saith the Lord." So it gives you basically biblical a reference to it. It gives you a more of an in-depth explanation, more passages, but their prayer points are really the key essence. One is the explanation of the weapon, how it can be used, and then the prayer point is like the practical application of it. So here it says, Father, arise in your indignation and pursue my pursuer in the name of Jesus. So how you color it and where you direct it, if you know the name of the person, the energetic source, the place that it's from, let the fire of divine indignation arrest my arresters. So you can give it weight and a very specific value so that it's not open-ended and that you're being much more controlled or much more direct in where you want to place that so it has a specific outcome. And just trust in it. Say, you know what? I think although you can use biblical words, I think once you know what the tool does and how it works, you can use your own words so that it's true to you. It's like people that plagiarize. You know they're plagiarizing. But if you had an experience of something and you create it from your own way of being and the way that you express yourself and you use your words in truth, that has more weight than just simply reading it from a book or repetition. Again, being creative, but knowing what the weapon does.
Yeah.
I mean, there are
So
look at 2.5 pages here. Yeah.
Yeah, so taking it back to indignation, I would say, like, this is how I would translate it. It's almost like from the Creator's point of view, from God's point of view, you know, who are they to challenge His power? Who are they to think that they're these, you know, mini gods, you know, trying to control everybody? Who do they think they are that they've separated themselves so far and so, you know, entrenched that, you know, that really, I mean, it's like that is a big separation. And then it gives you, I can't feel the anger right now, but I mean, there are times where it's like, God must be sitting there going,
how dare you?
Huh?
Yeah. How dare you?
Like, you know, I made everything. Yeah, I made everything. You didn't make DNA, and now you're doing genetic reorganizing or, you know,
crazy.
blending species and all
That's
this stuff.
Insane. Yep.
That is an abomination.
It says here in the first paragraph, I just want to clarify here because I know you're looking for a direction. One of the strongest weapons, really the indignation, that's a big word, of God. One of the toughest weapons which God has made available for effective spiritual warfare is the weapon of indignation of God. There is a special weapon earmarked for seasons of victory. This is a fitting weapon for the enemy that will not let you go. So if you're fighting and then they're just being, I'm not sure what form you're fighting, but we'll say the indignation of God is a weapon that the Almighty rarely brings out. This particular weapon has been designed to express the fullest anger and fury of God. It is a weapon that shows no mercy. When the weapon is in use, there is no looking back, meaning that it has a full weight and strength of all creation behind it. And hence, maybe that's why it's not really used, because, you know, God gives us chances. He says, okay, we'll just beat him up a little bit here. Come on, did you learn your lesson? No. Okay, you got to be beaten up a little more here. Come on, get on the path. No. Okay, we're going to smack you a little harder. And when you get to a point where you're doing really bad stuff, I think that's when he brings it out or allows you to ask for it, because really it's by his hand, not yours. You're just saying, hey, we've had enough. Come on, step in. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what he did to Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, he was like, okay, you guys had plenty of chances. You've had warnings. Here's an angel telling you, giving you a warning.
Yeah.
And, well, they didn't listen, so bam.
Have you seen basically the sulfur, the black sulfur balls or the yellow ones that they're still bringing out of the place? Like, there's no physical way that the Earth could have ever produced, or any man could have produced.
I saw that.
Isn't that cool?
I saw that.
Yeah,
they said the only way that he could have gotten hotter than the sun was if it was some kind of asteroid or fireball from the sky that did that. I mean, there's no wood fire or coal fire
Yeah.
back then that could have produced that kind of special. I don't know what it is on the
And it's in
molecular
the
level,
layers. It's
but
in the layers.
mm,
It's
yeah,
down about so. I mean, come on, really? Naysayers, really? Okay, disprove that, please.
yeah. Take a look at the evidence. We have science that will analyze. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a whole area of archaeology that has to do with, you know, like you said, the layers of civilizations, right? And they
And their biblical
find,
reference to it, yeah. I
hmm
mentioned to
yeah,
you actually a couple of weeks ago, you know how we have basically news of, all the weather warfare and what's going on and news about weather and where it's happening. How about spiritual news as in what's really happened? I'm sure that's out there. It's not privy to us. But I bet you there's a spiritual news service of what's going on this place. Like demon possession through to events to physical manifestations. I guarantee you the Vatican's got a hold of it. Maybe some insider creeps, we'll say the dark ones, the ones that lesser thans, the fallen. I'm sure they have a subscription to that.
yeah. There's a whole bunch of, like, if you do a search on prophecy in the news or something, you'll get like a whole bunch of different ministers and preachers, but I haven't resonated with any of those myself.
Okay.
And I just choose to interpret,
Yeah.
through his
Yeah.
grace and his kindness, show me if it's something to look at or not. And because when I look at those YouTubes, I can't even get past the click button. I can't
Yep, I
get
know.
past the play button because I can just feel their energy coming off of the screen,
Yeah.
So I'm like, yada 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 yada. And I'm glad you're a believer, but I don't have to listen to every YouTube of everybody in their basement who has a
Yeah.
sheet for a backdrop. I mean, I don't. I'm
Or
sorry.
the Union Jack flag. Yeah, I know what you mean. But I know that'd be interesting. Today caught in Walmart a Wendigo trying to steal jeans. I mean, like that kind of thing would be kind of fun to see what's going on. But no, because I mean, then we could correlate this physical place with a spiritual intersection, so that it would affect people in a way that they would be drawn closer to God. So that if they would have a spiritual understanding, wait a minute, we really do have these kind of entities here. People are being manifested. There's even one where an abortion doctor was being, I wouldn't say hounded, but there was a person outside the clinic, and he was handing out flyers, and he was confronting this abortion doctor. And this guy immediately manifested a demon. His voice changed, his eyes changed, his demeanor. He started to growl. I thought, holy cow, there you go, that guy's possessed. And it was caught on YouTube. And really quite interesting. And the security guard that was in front of that clinic freaked out. Never saw that.
Wow.
The doctor was maybe 5'4", but the energy coming off of this thing was 10 times his size, and it was just dark and just freaked the security guard out. But the other fellow stood in Christ. He stood in Christ. He said, "You will pay for your sins," and you could see the light around this guy. He was an Afro-American man, and he was basically just stating the truth. He was calm, collect. He spoke his truth. He knew there was so much weight behind him. And the guy went scurrying off. He ran back into the clinic. Really interesting.
Well, that's exactly the line that I read out of John. The darkness hates the light. It knows that it's going to be seen. All of its secrets, all of its horrible things are going to be seen with the light.
Yeah.
So it ran away.
He couldn't stand the truth. He was holding up God's truth to him, and he just couldn't stand it. Even though he was completely corrupt and knew that he wasn't going to his father's kingdom. He's going down. He couldn't stand being shown that, although he loved the depravity of what he was doing. Madness. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Interesting.
Sorry, there's so much hardship in the world.
I know. But we have to have that discernment and seeing. It's not like the comic books or like the movies portray it as these big, fashionable, glam, warfares and these special effects. It's direct, and you really have to have discernment. You got to be able to know what you're dealing with, feel it. And that's what they try and block. They put filters on it with bad food or water so you don't resonate there. Your thoughts, or they'll just pulse your head. I mean, it's just, they're trying every trick in the book not to get you to be you. I know. You know. Most people know. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I did want to bring one thing up after. We had mentioned last week about candles. And I did a little looking around, and I know that beeswax candles, but candles have a specific use. They connect to your higher consciousness. I think you're even connecting to spiritual. If you pray, you'll connect to that source. You'll connect to that entity or to that being. I think being still when you do it is important. To meditate, to be mindful, really be mindful and know what you're connecting to. And using good candles, like a beeswax candle, not the cheap soys, because those have completely different light values and energetic patterns. Most of them are contaminated. Do not buy black candles or witchcraft stuff. That is all cursed. Just natural beeswax candles.
Don't get those.
Yeah.
I like fragrance candles myself. I like
nice.
Puts a different atmosphere around you. I tend to go with the fruity ones or the spicy ones. Sometimes depends what I'm in the mood for.
It's the light that it gives off too. You'll see. The more natural candles and natural ingredients instead of the petroleum-based, it's a warmer glow. The resonance of it is very different. The way it'll flicker and burn, the smell. Beeswax candles, we know that produce a negative ion, so that's even a positive health benefit there. But I think most people use it for connecting to loved ones, really. I think your connection to those that have journeyed with you here, your pets, your family members, lovers, whoever that was in your past that may not be with you. I think it's a very nice way of connecting in a positive way. And celebrating too. And celebrating. I know November the 1st, I like to celebrate as All Saints Day. And we light candles in memory of our loved ones instead of the other day, which is accursed to God. But,
I had the candy ready. I hemmed and hawed. I don't know if I want to celebrate, but I don't want to disappoint the kids. So I had a little bag of candy. And I put on the lights, and I cut up some little messages, and I threw it in with the bag of candy, like God is love, and say no to drugs, and I put some little messages in there. Nobody showed up, no, not one.
Wow.
And and the same thing last year, by the way. And so I'm done. I think my contract with that holiday is done because I gave it. I worried about hurting the children's feelings if they showed up, and I go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get anything."
A parent scolded me out 4 years ago. I produced a small, on a single piece sheet of paper, all the ingredients in toxic candies. I was handing out packaged ginger snaps, not just ginger snaps, but the sesame snaps, because they're healthy and there's sugar, and that's basically it. But it was a complete printout of toxic stuff, and I was putting these in with the actual treat itself. The parent goes, "This is Halloween. Let the kids enjoy Halloween." I said, "But they need to know you're going to be poisoning your child." I said, "Don't do that." So he's tried to scold me for trying to inform him that some of the ingredients are harmful. And he didn't really realize what I was trying to do, but but that's cute. I think putting little messages is better, Say here,
but for 2 years in a row, nobody came here. Yeah, and
so what did you do?
Nobody showed up, and I still have it. I'm trying to think of who I'm going to give it to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Let's see if there's anything else. I feel like we're winding down at this time, unless there was something else.
I mean, I got a
I
lot
don't
more
have anything
to
burning to say.
Yeah, I think today was a really good call. I know we chatted before the recording went on, and today was I think this was a pretty good call. Really.
This was a productive call. Yeah.
Yeah. The
Very
tower,
productive.
the pillar of light, and how to use it.
The lightning, indignation.
Indignation. And candles.
Scripture, candles. That's our review. So we'll do this again next week. And it would be nice if a few people came, but if not, what we're going to do is we're going to have some recordings for people, and they'll just be there on the front page of my conference call, so they can just click on it or listen to it with the playback number that I sent you. That's just if they don't have access to a computer, they can call in. The only difference with that is the last two numbers, instead of 3-1, it's a 2-9, so you get the playback aspect of these conference calls. Yeah.
Nice.
And then you put in the access number, and then you can put in a reference number for the exact audio. But, hold on a second.
Sure.
Or you can just click pound to get the last recording. So that's what people would do.
Okay, that's nice. That's easy. Well, we just want to put it out there. We're basically just laying seeds, and we're just expressing our divine truth in love to help, and I guess sharing our experiences and our journey as well.
I wish more people were ready for this, because it's necessary. It's going to be more necessary as time goes on. I can see that. As society deteriorates more, these skills are going to be even more important. But I don't know how else we could convey that unless they feel it themselves.
They have to get to a certain point.
And going to church is good, but they don't necessarily teach you that kind of skill.
Right. Yeah. Churchiosity has its own value. This has its own value too. So, if you need to go to a church, that's great. If you don't need to go to a church, that's great too. I think it's within. That's my understanding. Instead of external, it's within.
Yeah.
Although you can come together in friendship with others in a place, which is good. But ultimately, because I think a lot of TIs are distanced, we have to do it internally and energetically.
Yeah.
So I think it makes it stronger.
It's definitely, energy warfare is what we're learning. We're forced to learn it. We're forced to get better at it. And psychological warfare, I mean, it's all the same stuff. But we just have to get better at it and get better on more levels of it. Instead of going around in circles and repeating ourselves.
That is another topic of, I wish we could help.
Yeah, I know.
There are a few people I'd really like to shift so that they could use their energy in a healing way instead of a destructive way. So, I know.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. Yeah, we are trying to do that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights. I'm going to play us some music after I stop the recording.
And thank you too, Sue. Blessings to you. Much love. Much love to everyone who listens to this too. Hope it's helped.
Yes.
Hope it's filled your heart.
I hope it raises your light and your capacity for light.